It's now time to bring you the second part of our interview segment as we focus on the performance of quoted companies and other transactions on the floor of the Nigerian Stock Exchange. Now, while most of the sectors of the economy may be grappling with the effect of the COVID-19 and now coupled with inflationary pressures in the country, the Nigerian equities market has been celebrating the Yuletide in quite a grand style, recording gains for over 8 successive sessions. The bulls have consistently dominated the market with just about 5 more trading days left for the year to end. The stock market is set to close with a growth of about 40% after recovering from a decline suffered in 2018 and 2019. Now, when trading at the stock market resumes later, when it resumed earlier in the year 2020, there was high optimism that the market would witness a recovery stronger than what we had earlier seen in terms of losses in 2018 and 2019. The optimism was based on past experience in the market where rebound is always witnessed after 2 years of decline. Let's now evaluate the end-of-year performance of quoted companies and the volume of exchange we've seen so far throughout the year 2020. I have here with me now in our Lagos studio the Chief Executive Officer of Finance with Mukhtar Mohammed. Good to have you on the show today. Compliments of the season.
Thank you, David. It's also a pleasure.
Yes. So now the market has proven quite bullish in the sense of how much of a pull we've seen and defying all odds in terms of what's been playing out on the global front. Now, quoted companies' performance was quite impressive, but with the second wave of the COVID-19 now, we can only but keep our fingers crossed. What new twist will happen?
Well, the market, sometime in March, we had the first wave of COVID-19. Nobody thought the market would survive. The market went to an all-time low. And when they reopened the economy, we're still like grappling with the opening of the economy. Everybody thought the market also was still going to perform poorly. But somewhere along the line, returns on other investment vehicles became a little bit poor. And so investors started looking at the stock market as one place they would gain their return. And that's why we saw the kind of rally we saw. The second wave, we're optimistic that the second wave will not last long, based on that the vaccines are here, even if they are not here in Nigeria yet, but we know that the vaccines are here. So it's just a matter of time. We believe there will be, we'll have shock in the first quarter of the year, but hopefully by second quarter, everything will pick up. And most economies in the world are not doing the total shutdown. Most of them are trying to make sure that there's not a total lockdown. They're trying to open it. They make sure that the economy is not entirely locked down. So,
what other elements do you think would help rebalance the market for a stronger win come the first quarter of next year?
FX, exchange rates. If we have the exchange rate volatility certain, we have the exchange rates moderate, and we're able to stabilize the exchange rate, we'll have a bullish market all through the year. Remember that one thing people need to know that the current wave, the current bullish run, had no part with the foreign investors, indigenous investors. And normally in the Nigerian market, what drives the market is the foreign investors. The foreign investors were not coming, not because they didn't want to come. Exchange rate, they felt it was not favorable for them. And now CBN have come up with a policy that makes you can bring in your dollar yen, and then you'll be able to get dollar, then you exchange it in the parallel market and all stuff like that. So it's going to help the market. The import-export window also is doing very well there. So a lot of things are going to play out. But once we get the exchange rate stable, I think the market will see the kind of bullish run that we've not seen for a long time, because I am optimistic because the foreign investors will come. The Nigerian investors also will still be there with the type of liquidity they have, with the type of returns we are having in other investments. Most of them will not just basically be looking at the stock market as one area they can make a lot of return. And so then demand and supply comes to play. It throws a caution of the market, and we could say, but then it's always a signal that at that time, it's not time to just buy any other stock. It's time to buy stocks that have good fundamentals.
Having good fundamentals. And the second half of the year, we saw quite an introduction of new special treasury bills in terms of government's provision within that regard as well. Lower yields has been the major characterization we've seen within that regard as well.
We will continue to see those lower yield. I mean, the CBN come out with the policy. We'll continue to see those lower rate because the government itself, they are looking at other avenues. The banks are no more keeping those. CBN policy makes the bank not to depend so much on building money from Treasury. They have to boost the economy. They have to give a fund to SMEs. So those returns that we normally see in Treasury, in fixed income spaces, they won't be there for a while. So definitely now, who's going to enjoy those type of returns, going to enjoy those type of transactions in the stock market. So that's, we are not seeing anytime soon that we'll begin to see those kind of 15% yield.
So you think it's going to persist for quite a longer period?
It might persist for quite a longer period, because even if the governments, they want to borrow, the government are not looking at the normal conventional way of borrowing. They're trying to say, oh, can we talk to the pension fund administrators? Can we get...
Isn't that disappointing?
Very, very disappointing. It's not something I think is very disappointing on the part of government. But according to the Act of the Pension Fund Act, does not even make it possible for them to just go to the pension fund to borrow. You can only borrow the pension fund money if you are listed under the stock exchange, Security and Exchange Commission. They are listed under the local bond, under the stock exchange. That's the only place that the pension funds money are allowed to come into play. So if you want to borrow the pension fund money, you need to come to the market. You can't just go. They didn't give them that leeway to just directly borrow to any government agency or anybody. They don't have that power. So that is what gives me, unless we decide to throw caution up the wind. And if you're looking at how much they're trying to borrow, with how much we have in the pension fund, you realize there are even higher money they're looking for compared to what we have in the pension fund.
We've had several conversations as to exploring the capital market to fund key infrastructural development and a better agenda for the economy to support growth. What would be the biggest disappointment for the year 2020 within this regard, and you think we might likely make once again come next year?
The biggest disappointment is government is not looking at the capital market as one area where they can borrow money. And long-term financing, we're still going to China, we're still going to other conventional means, trying to borrow from them. Instead of looking at the capital market. The bigger picture, grow our capital market, grow our financial sector, grow our economy. But what we think is hard to grow other people's
Why do you think, what's fueling this blind spot?
I think it's been there all the while. No government that really taken opportunity in the capital market. The only government that tried to do that was the first civilian administration of General Olusegun, former President Olusegun Obasanjo. It was the only administration that looked at the capital market at that time. They came up with a lot of vehicles like Transcorp and other, trying to bring vehicles together to grow the economy. But after that, we've not seen any government, any administration that have been interested in the capital market. They don't even know the depth of the capital market. They don't even know the type of fund that we have in the capital market. And I keep telling them the biometer of your economy will be determined by your capital market. Outsiders don't see your companies. They see the companies that are quoted in the capital market. That is what will attract foreign investors. That's what will attract foreign direct investors. Because we are not having that, that's why you're seeing the type of foreign direct investment is almost non-existent. So until begin to see the capital market, begin to see it as a tool for borrowing, as a tool to grow the economy, as a tool to empower the people also, then we'll begin to see maybe by then they will take it to. But
how do you think this also brings to question the relevance of the economic advisory teams we have sharing their opinions with governments and not looking in that regard?
I don't think those teams don't know what they're doing. Remember, they're an advisory body. Yours is to advise. It's never left for them to take. And like somebody said, those are men of timber caliber. Those are men that know the onions. Those are men that have been in economics. You're talking about Christopher Soludo, former CBN governor.
Mark Rwani and a whole lot more.
And all of that. Those are people that have held their own over the years. So it's one thing. I remember one of the Nigerian presidents said it, that yours is to advise. It depends on me. You're an advisor. Just advise me. At the time whether I take your advice or not. I think these guys are advising them. But it's almost, again, lying in the administration if they really want to take the advice.
So it's just like driving a perfect car and not having the best driver?
Remember, there's no constitutional backing to them. They don't have any constitutional backing, they don't have any enforcement rule, they can't enforce anything. So it's the same, just for what you said.
Okay, now let's talk about the closing figures we have from the floor of the Nigerian Stock Exchange today. Transactions closed negative, with the all-share index down 0.01%, quite a slim margin. The top gainers for today, we have Sky Aviation, we have Wando Flour Mill, as well as Afripod. And then top losers, we have WAPCO, Guarantee Champion, United Bank of Africa, as well as May Becker. This did not come to you as a surprise.
No. We expect profit taking to come in. We've been, the losses is not that much, like you said, 0.01. I think it's a little bit slow. Small compared to what people were thinking. I think we're going to end the year strong. Most investors, like I said, throughout last week, we've seen the bull and the bear trying to tussle it out. So finally, I think most investors now that really want to key into the market are already in the market. They have moved from where they are looking at high dividend yielding stock. Remember that from January, February, we start seeing those numbers comes in, especially from stocks, from equity that are going to pay good dividend. Mostly those that have paid interim dividend in spite of the pandemic. So definitely investors have already switched their tent. So what we're saying now is most investors are just waiting for those results to come in. They've done the portfolio reshuffling and everything. So we won't see much of activities, we won't see much of changes. We'll see the bull and the bear sorting it out. But by the first quarter, when the results start coming out, then we'll begin to see the real direction of the market. Like I said, hopefully we get the exchange rate stability. Once those results comes in, the exchange rate stability is there, we are in for a good time.
And what do you think will play out in terms of new twists, in terms of the fact that we are seeing listings and the Nigerian Stock Exchange as a group?
I think the best thing that will happen to when we want to see the Nigerian Stock Exchange itself will be listed
as a group.
That as a group in the exchange. I think that would be the best thing. We have MTN there already. We have is it the Airtel also already there? So well, maybe good thing. Maybe we see Glo come in. We see Nine Mobile come in. Definitely, I don't see any twist and turn. But I think the big thing is that we will see the Nigerian Stock Exchange listed in the Bonhoeffer Exchange as a quoted company, bringing us its results every quarter. That would be the best thing. And that would give people more confidence to come into the market.
And then wrapping up our conversation, I'll just taking cues from the Hong Kong Stock Exchange, what happens in other stock exchanges in Africa, the New York Stock Exchange and multiple. What little antics do you think we can also replicate just to make it a little much more enticing?
Corporate governance is the key. And I must give it to the current exchange.
Oscar
Oyema, they've done a great work when it comes to corporate governance, but they could still do more. Corporate governance, once we get corporate governance right, whereby you have to release your result at a particular time. Now they are doing it, but they're still giving them chance, 3 months after your this. But when we decide that this is the time, like what is obtained in other exchanges in the world, even in South Africa Stock Exchange, at a particular day, MTN will have to bring their result. At a particular time, you have to give fact behind the figures. You don't even have to wait till the end of the year, so that investors begin to look at your stock, begin to look at your company, begin to look at if it is. So I think for me, the greatest thing that will happen in 2021 is if the exchange decided corporate governance is the way to go. You must release your result at a particular time, at a particular date, not more than the end of the year. So when we say the financial year end is December 31st, we expect by 2nd or 3rd week of January, or the ending of January at once, result is out.
Okay. Thank you very much for your time on the show so far. It's been a pleasure speaking with you, Mokhtar Mohammed. This is where we draw the curtains on this edition of Business Nigeria. Many thanks for watching so far. Do catch us tomorrow, same time. We have it for a full day.